Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy, Mr. Almighty Lewis, back at you with another video. And today we're going to be talking about why the world needs more introverts. Yes, the world needs them. So if you're an introvert, it's time to rise. It's time to let the world know you exist. Because if not, then the world is going to be on a deficit of introverts, and that's not what we want, as you'll learn in this video. So make sure you stay tuned, because you're about to learn exactly why introverts are necessary in this world. They're not just these group of people who you can just say, oh, there's an introvert there, who cares, right? No, introverts are vital to this world, and you'll learn why. So in this video, I've got a little bit of a cold brew, man, because I haven't had my coffee today. So I'm going to have it as I'm making this video. So this is cold brew that I actually made myself. By the way, if you're wondering how you can make cold brew on a French press. Ooh. Wow. That is delicious. Woo! Yes. You want to learn how to do that, make sure you go to the link down below. You can check out my Instagram, and I'll show you guys exactly how to make cold brew on a French press. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into today's video, which is why the world needs introverts. So here's the thing about introverts. So most people, let's start by describing introverts. Like, for the most part, people think that introverts are like these shy guys or women who don't talk as much, who are just pretty much kept to themselves. They're very scared to socialize. They're scared of putting their ideas and opinions out there. And for the most part, they're just very quiet and subtle and don't really, draw too much attention, right? And for the most part, yes, those are some of the characteristics of an introvert, but those are not all. So here's the thing about introverts. Introverts, for the most part, are people who just work very well by themselves. So anything that, pretty much any hobby that can be done without the need of anybody else's interference or interaction or any sort of teamwork, introverts will love that. Except, of course, when there's more introverts around, then in that case, teamwork itself becomes extremely, extremely strong. And that's because, there's when you put introverts together, they relate. They relate to each other, they understand each other, and for the most part, they're able to respect each other's boundaries. And so that in of itself, creates a very comfortable environment that pretty much, every introvert in that group feels very comfortable working. And so for the most part, they're going to do very well. I mean, for the most part, when I'm working with other introverts, that's when I do the best work. But for the most part, I don't work with other people. For the most part, I like to be by myself. I like to work on my own. And working by myself, that in of itself, gets me a lot of good stuff. And I'm okay with that. I love that. I love to actually just work on myself sometimes and just, do activities and hobbies that just involve one person, such as, perhaps you're a programmer, perhaps you're a video editor, maybe you're a content creator, maybe you're a musician, an artist, maybe you're a designer, maybe you're a reader. For the most part, all of these things, a writer, for the most part, all of these things, you can do them all on your own. You can go and play your guitar on your own, you can go and write on your own, and many of the things that I just said, you can do those on your own. And that's perfectly fine. That's beautiful. And for the most part, that's pretty much all the things that I said. Those are pretty much all the things that I do on a daily basis, and I do them all by myself. I don't need anybody's help. I don't need nobody to be beside me and encouraging me and motivating me. Like, come on, Mr. Almighty Lewis, you can do it. I don't need nobody, And for the most part, I enjoy that. But for some reason, most people around me, mostly extroverts, they think that's kind of weird. They think that's kind of like that's somehow gonna hinder my future. That's gonna somehow slow down the process of me getting to where I want to. And the thing is that is not the case. That is not the case, actually, because I am an introvert, and I know myself to be an introvert. So for the most part, as an introvert, I can actually get more done by myself, as opposed to if you put me in a team surrounded by a bunch of extroverts, because I will not feel comfortable around those extroverts. And for the most part, at that point, things like my creativity, things like me speaking up and giving my opinion and stuff like that, those things are going to be reserved now, because now I'm working with a group of extroverts, and now I feel a little bit, let's just say, like there's a huge disconnect as far as like connecting at a energy level, connecting at a intuitive level. There's not that intuition. There's no intuition involved anymore in the communication. So for the most part, it's just not going to work out. And so that's the thing. So I personally like to work by myself for the most part, unless of course there's introverts involved, and then at that point we can create some massive things. But with that said, why does the world need more introverts? So here's the thing. I mean, if you do your research, you're gonna find out that most of the really great and big creations that were made in the past, I'm not gonna go into details because that's just not me. I don't really like to go into details as far as like the year and the person and what they did. But if you're that type of person, you can go ahead and do your research. I, for the most part, I've done some subtle research, and that's pretty much been enough, because I personally don't like to research too much to the degree where all I'm doing is just researching and not taking any sort of action with that research. So, I do a little bit of research, and then I go and I implement what I learned from that research. So if you look at the research, you'll see that there's a couple people out there who created some really massive things, and these people were introverts. They were introverts. So, for the most part, they were just alone by themselves, in a room, in their office or their house or whatever, their workplace. And pretty much they were just designing on their own. They were doing everything on their own by themselves and everything. And so, eventually they were able to create massive things. And, if they ever needed help, of course, they will reach out. But it wasn't like a, long-term workout. It was sort of like I need to go to the store, I need to go and actually buy a couple things, maybe I need to get some information from this person, so I go and I call them, I'm like, yo, this is what I need, this is that, okay, thank you very much, bam, and everything, and so it was very like that. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate that massively, because here's the thing about introverts. Like, introverts, for the most part, are the ones who are able to focus a lot. They're able to just focus and pretty much go all out in their work, and work in silence, really, like without even saying a word. Like, they can just focus massively on what they're doing, and they won't even have to be communicating constantly with the people around them and be like, hey, how you doing? Hey, this, that, this, I'm doing that. They don't have that need to be voicing everything that they're doing. They're pretty much just doing what they have to do, and they're pretty focused, and they can see the end goal. They know exactly like the steps that are taking place as they're working at doing whatever it is that they're doing. So, if there's a writer, the writer's very concentrated on getting his writing done. Maybe he's writing a book, and so he knows that he has to finish that book. He knows exactly like what the storyline of that book is, and he knows exactly like what each chapter is going to consist of as far as the storyline goes. So he's focused, he's determined, he knows exactly what has to go into those chapters. He doesn't need to be going out there and talking to people and be like, hey, this, that, you like this chapter? You didn't like this chapter? Hey, I'm writing this book right here. Us introverts, we don't have the need to do that. We just go at it. Okay, we have a plan, we have a structure, and we just, execute it. And for the most part, actually it works in reverse when it comes to working with others. Actually, we don't want anybody else's interference. And for the most part, we get pretty angry and pretty upset, when somebody tries to interfere in that process, because, it starts to throw the strategy out of place. And so when you start to maneuver with the strategy, you start to maneuver and compromise the future, really the end goal, which is to finish that book. And that's for the most part why introverts, for the most part, just work by themselves. Unless, of course, there's other introverts, somewhere in the nearby vicinity, then for the most part, we'll go ahead and reach out to those people. And believe me, introverts working by themselves as a team, though, that's amazing. But of course, there's got to be introverts who are working in their own sectors. Maybe they're in the same room, but they'll be in their own sectors, and they'll be each of them individually working on whatever their position is at that with that particular project or work environment or whatever it is that whatever the reason is that they're working as a team. So yeah. So what does the world ultimately need introverts? Well, because introverts actually take action. You see, extroverts, for the most part, they love to talk. They love to communicate. They love to talk about their ideas, their goals, their ambitions. They like to talk about the things they would like to do in the world and this and that. And they love to share it. And they love to do a lot of the talking. And you know what? Talking is fine. But for the most part, extroverts are very content and satisfied with just talking and sharing and putting their opinion and voice out there, but without taking any sort of action. And you see, you voicing your opinion, you talking, that's not an action. Anybody can do that. Even introverts can talk. As we said previously earlier in the video, most people think that introverts are these quiet, shy people. Actually, no, they're not. They're actually very, very talkative. And for the most part, actually, introverts tend to talk a little bit more structured and more logically than most extroverts, because most extroverts just throw a bunch of random stuff out there. Like, it's just very nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. It's very boring, dull. There's no structure to the communication. It's very random. And for the most part, a lot of the communication doesn't carry a purpose. And it's just very annoying. As opposed to introverts, when introverts get together and they talk, there's actually some real, actionable thing going on there. The communication itself has a purpose. So we're going to talk about like a certain project. Maybe we want to get to a certain solution to a problem we're having in the project, or maybe we get together and we start to share ideas and see, okay, which idea is it that we're going to go with, and we need to get to this idea very quickly because we need to go and execute this idea as soon as possible. That way we're able to complete this project as soon as possible. So yeah, I mean, you see it right now with this video. I know that I have a time limit of just 15 minutes here, or at least that's the time limit I want to hit. So I want to get as much as I can out there within those 15 minutes. And so I have to make sure that everything I'm saying is actually making sense and that it's actually of value to you as a viewer. And so yeah, so for the most part, introverts do talk a lot, but they talk but with meaning, with purpose, as opposed to extroverts who just talk for the sake of just talking, and they just sort of find satisfaction. And that's pretty much my point here, that I don't like that. I don't like the fact that, extroverts just talk, and ultimately nothing gets done because everything just ends in talking. And so if everything ends in talking, then who's to say, who's to say that, that even matters at all, Nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're able to talk, if you're able to communicate really nicely. At the end of the day, everybody just cares about what you're able to do. And that's where introverts come in, because introverts actually do take action. You see, for the most part, we don't talk much. We have an idea, we execute it. We don't talk about it. We don't go and share with our friends, and we don't go and talk about it and do all this, talk everywhere. We just go and execute. We just do what we have to do. And if it doesn't work out, well, then we work on making it work. And so that's really the fun of it, I, for the most part, anytime I have an idea, I go and I execute it really quickly. I do. If I feel like that idea is a good idea, I'll go out there and I'll execute it right away. I don't care if I don't have the right tools, if it's not perfect, if it doesn't look good, I don't care. What I care is about executing the damn thing first, because when I execute, I'll have the data. I'll see, okay, is this something that I want to continue improving upon? Or is this something that is just nonsensical? Or was this just a bad idea from the beginning? And so now I have the experience. So now I can actually, tell, if for the next time that it does happen, I can notice and I can see if I should execute an idea somewhere along those lines ever again. Or maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should stay away from ideas like those ever again, because I know exactly what's going to happen. And I actually experienced it. This isn't like me just reading something from a book and, just being like, oh, well, in the book, that's what it said, it's never going to work. That's not how it works. So the world needs more introverts, because introverts actually take action. And we take action faster than extroverts. Extroverts do all the talking. That's why in every successful company, of course, you need both, because extroverts are, like I said, they're very good at talking, and talking itself could be used as a tool. Now, of course, this tool has to be done by an introvert. So I believe that introverts leading a company are far more better than extroverts, because an introvert can actually position the extrovert properly and be like, okay, you know what, you're the extrovert, you're the one who loves to talk, you're the one who loves to who loves to put their voice and opinion out there. You're a very well communicator. So why don't we put you as the face of our company, and why don't we make you like the one who talks in the commercials and makes videos for us and sells videos? Believe me, they're gonna do great right there, because they're very good communicators. They have very good charisma. Of course, if this extrovert is trained in their communication, because part of communication is also being trained. So you can't just be putting out random stuff out there. So while the extrovert may enjoy talking, he or she also needs to comprehend that there's a structure to communication depending on what you're doing. And so there's that. So yeah, so the world needs more introverts. So if you're an introvert, start getting out there, start letting people know that you're an introvert, right? Say it proudly that you're an introvert and that you love to work alone, and that you're a smart person, and that you're not shy. Never think that you're shy. Never think that you're quiet or anything like that, because you're not. And you know this to be the truth, actually. If you have any introvert friends or any friends that make you feel very comfortable around you, then you know perfectly this is not the case, and you love to talk. I mean, you can see me right here. I'm making a video right here for you guys, and for the most part, I'm very talkative here. But the reason why I am is because there's nobody around. Actually, if there was somebody around, I probably wouldn't be talking as much as I am right now, or with the same sort of energy and enthusiasm and comfort, really, for talking this way. But yeah, so make sure you do that. And if you're not an introvert and you are an extrovert, make sure you look out for these introverts, because these introverts can be very helpful, whether that's for life purposes, because introverts are very good listeners. So for the most part, they can listen to you very, very well. And if you're like an owner of a company, introverts can get the work done, as long as you recognize and acknowledge them as introverts and give them the right treatment, you position them properly, so that they feel very comfortable within your company, and they're respected as the introvert they are, and not like downgraded or anything like that. And so once you figure those things out, believe me, introverts are very, very necessary in this world, and there needs to be more. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification icon so that you're notified every single time I upload a new video. And I'll see you guys in the next video.